Good morning, church. I am excited to be here today. I love this church. I came here 2 weeks ago, and I felt it. I felt what you are feeling. I felt it immediately. Just the Holy Spirit here, that family vibe. I love it. My family's over here. We're getting a chance to get to know you, but it's just a beautiful feeling to be in a church where you just know it's there. It just oozes out of you. So I'm just thankful for it. Pastor Josh was talking about what I'm doing with the 56th Assembly District. I'm a Marine, and I served for 20 years and served 4 combat tours. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. After I retired, I became a pastor, and I pastored as the outreach pastor at Southwest Church, and then a church out in Orange County called Saddleback called me up, and they said, will you come be our senior founding pastor for our San Diego campus? And I said, you sure you called the right guy? I said, you sure you called the right Jeff? And they said, yep, you're the one. I said, but I'm just a regular guy. And they said, that's right. That's right. We need more regular guys like you. I said, oh, well, okay, if you trust me, then let's go do this, right? So I was really happy to go out there and do that and share the gospel. When I got there, I said, Jesus, I want you to do something for me. I want you to take me to the worst of the worst, the poorest of the poor, and I want you to go out there and do that and let me minister. And you know where he sent me? To the richest of the rich. And as I sat there at this local restaurant, they have this outside seating because in the summertime they have this thing called a breeze. Never saw that before. Never felt it, and I was confused. So I sat there and I said, man, this is nice. This breeze, and it's in double digits, not triple digits. In July. Crazy. So I'm sitting there, and I see this Lamborghini drive up, and this Range Rover, and this Tesla, and I'm saying, what are you doing? Jesus, I said, send me to the poorest of the poor. He said, that's where I sent you. Said it doesn't have to do with finances, it has to do with the heart. And I just, thank you, Jesus. See, we think that the problems that we have are only the problems in our town, but the problems hold no barriers. The problems hold no race. The problems hold no gender. The problems go from left to right, but there's a miracle about to happen. See, some of us are going through that season where that miracle doesn't feel like a miracle. It feels like we're stuck in the mud. See, I like to pastor by participation. So that means I need y'all to be a part of this, right? You're going to have to forgive my y'alls because I was in the South for a little while, so occasionally my y'alls come out. See, some of you are, like me, can be stuck in the mud. See, that when you're in the mud, what happens is, you ever been in really thick mud? Not just light mud, but thick mud. It's almost like it's dragging you down, and the more you start walking, the heavier it gets, and you tire out. But see, you got to go through the mud to get to the miracle. No, maybe you didn't hear that right, church. You have to go through the mud to get to the miracle. See, the prodigal son, the story is, he went home and the father gave him a cloak and the ring and the whole 9 yards, right? But we forget the most important part of that story. And that's when he was in the mud. See, in the mud is where he said, I submit. In the mud is where he said, I would rather be a servant in my father's house than a king of the pigs. That's what happens in the mud. But that's a choice that we have to make in the mud. Because it takes the mud to get to the miracle. You can hashtag that one. I'm so thankful for this church and just being able to do this. And if you're a first-time visitor, let me tell you something. You have an amazing church family. You have an amazing church family. I'm telling you that because I've been to churches all over the world. All over the world. And when you have something like this, you've got gold. You've got gold. Well, I was telling you a little story about my background, and I've been in the Marine Corps and four combat tours, and I've seen things that people shouldn't see in their life. But one of the greatest things that I've seen is the grace of God. See, I've seen the grace of God show up in places and in towns and in villages that you would never think they would be. I've seen God show up in the heart of a murderer. I've seen God show up in the soul of a rapist. I've seen God show up in the rich, the poor, the confused, the everything. I've seen God show up because He shows up. Now, I like to teach with notes, but sometimes I throw those notes right away. I throw them out sometimes. And I got the chance to see Pastor D 2 weeks ago, and he was trying to sit down, and I got a stool here, and I want to go sit down because that's part of this, but I'm getting fired up. And I asked Pastor Josh, I said, where do you want me to stand? And he said, let's try and stand here, the left and the right, but I said, sometimes I like to get in there. And he said, well, do what you got to do. And I said, all right. So if you got a Bible, you can go ahead and take that out. We're going to be in Matthew 5:13 through 16. If you don't have a Bible, you can take out your phone. If you don't have a phone, and if you don't have notes, you could just look at the screens, and we're going to do that for you because we make it easy. We want to remove the obstacles for you so that way you can enjoy what we get to see, and that's the living word. See, I talk about the living word because I can't even stand still, right? Because it fills you up. And once it's filled you up, you just want to shoot it out. And I'm going to be talking about that when I talk about the salt and the light. The salt and the light. So this took place at a time where Jesus was in his ministry, and he was already preaching, teaching by participation. He was performing miracles. He was healing people. All that stuff was already going on. And this particular group of verses that I'm going to be talking about, it's a famous grouping, and you might have heard it before. It's called the Sermon on the Mount. Now, you might not know where the Sermon on the Mount is with respect to the Bible, but it's in Matthew 5. It's during that time. 13 through 16 is where we're going to specifically go to. Now, when he says Sermon on the Mount, we're talking about a mountain or a hill or a ridge. The traditional site of the sermon is above a place called Tabgha, near Capernaum, on a ridge of hills west of the town, with a magnificent view of the sea. Now, who's gone to the ocean before? Well, put your hands out. Watch this one. Who's gone to the beach from living in here and on the summertime gone to the beach to the coast? Raise your hands. Now, when you first show up to the beach and you get out of your car, what's the first thing you feel? It's freezing compared to, the sun that we're exposed to out here, right? And what's the first thing you smell? I want you to imagine that. I want you to imagine looking at the Sea of Galilee See, in the distance, we see some fishermen, and there's some kids playing. There's some families walking. There's people preparing meals and working. But see, we're on top of this ridge, and there's people scattered about the town. And the smell of the ocean, the smell of the sea is in the air. And Jesus, with his disciples and many others, they started walking. They started walking up this ridge, this hill. Now, for some of you, me included, that could put me out of breath. But Jesus, he's just walking. He's looking around. He's seeing people. And as Jesus always does, he sits down to teach. His disciples came over to him, and others were just sitting down, just kind of like what you're doing right now. They sat down. They took out their snacks, maybe some Go-Gurts, and they waited to hear the words of our Lord. See, they got to see him face to face. They got to experience him. They were in the middle of all this emotion, this environment, all of that, and they got to see this. And he started teaching things like, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." Those are the ones that recognize that they are in need of God's help. They recognize they're in need of God's help. There are two types of people: those who recognize they're in need of God's help, and those that are in denial. He also taught things like, "Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be satisfied." Those are the ones that recognize that God is the ultimate source of real righteousness. Again, recognizing. You are making a conscious decision. You are making an effort to say, aha, I recognize where the source of that power is coming from. Not from me, but from him. He also taught things like, "Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." Those are the ones that have been wrongly treated because of their faith, but they courageously remain faithful amid opposition. Let me ask you something. When you go out to eat, do you take a moment to pray and thank God? Or, you don't have to raise your hands for this, or do you look around, make sure nobody's watching, and you do a quick prayer? See, there's that situation, and then we have brothers and sisters in the Middle East, Christians being persecuted for even thinking about Jesus. But they do it anyways. Yes. See, some might tell me, "Jeff, at my job, I can't talk about Jesus. I can't do it. I'm not allowed because of whatever rules, regulations, whatever stipulations that the job has, that I can't talk about Jesus." And I said, "What does the light say to the darkness?" Nothing. It just shines. It just shines. See, so many of us think that spreading the gospel means using words. But spreading the gospel is also using actions. See, you don't have to say anything to love. You just love. What I'm going to talk about being the salt and the light is actions speak louder than words. I want you to spread the gospel and sometimes use words. That's what I'm going to be talking about. Have you ever tried to share the gospel and you're like, I don't know what to say? Well, man, I'm not like you, Pastor Josh. I don't have the words to say that. Here's what I'm telling you as your coach, okay? Let's just call this the locker room, all right? This is the locker room. This is where you come in during halftime to get a word from your coach, so that way when you go out into the field, you know what plays to run. So this is your locker room. The locker room is not how you play the game. It's not the only place you play the game. The locker room is just the break. The game is everyday life. So many of us want to come into the locker room and think we just checked the box, but we forgot to play the game. Said, I got my check in the box, my Sunday, I'm good. No, this is just the locker room. That's all this is. And the person up here is your coach. And saying, these are the ways in which you will live your life. Let me show you the playbook. So I want you to check this out. Jesus gives us commands. Now, I'm in the Marine Corps, and a command means do it, right? When your mom or dad says, you got 3 seconds to go clean that room. Is that a suggestion? No. That means go do it, right? That's a command, right? So let's take a look on the screen. Jesus is speaking to the group of people that are on the ridge where you could smell the ocean, the Sea of Galilee. And he says, he's commanding, you are the salt of the earth. But if the salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It's no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot. You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, and they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. That's Matthew 5:13-16. From the book of Matthew. Have you ever asked yourself, what's my purpose? What's my purpose? Why am I here? What am I supposed to be doing with it? God, you just put this in front of me. What am I supposed to be doing with this? It would be so much easier if you would just send me a text and tell me what to do. I'll go do it, but you need to tell me what to do. What's my purpose? See, God, I need you to talk to me like my friends talk to me in words that I can hear. What's my purpose? Have you ever said to yourself, I've lost my way? See, I remember what I used to be like, and I want to get back to that, but I just don't know how. When I came back from war, there's this thing known as post-traumatic stress, and I was struggling. You guys mind if I just tell you what's going on? I was struggling. I wanted to kill myself. I don't mean that like, oh, I wanted to kill myself. Can I have a donut? I mean like, I wanted to die. I wanted to kill myself. I'm a pastor, and I wanted to kill myself. How does that happen? I thought to myself, See, that's when all the culmination of all the events that had taken place had come in like a flood all the way into this vase, and it just kept on coming and coming and coming. I didn't know how to stop it, but everything was coming in, to the past hurt that took place, to the abuse, to the sexual abuse that happened to me when I was 7. All of that started coming in, to the hate, to all the lies that kept on fueling into this vase. We're all overflowing, and I didn't know what to do. I lost my way. I didn't know where to go. So the only thing I knew how to do was yell at God. I laid on the ground, on the floor of an apartment in the middle of 29 Palms, saying, God, just take me now. You're going to leave me. You've abandoned me. Just take me now. This is a pastor talking, right? Does that even make any sense? Let me tell you something. I'm human just like you. See, this is not a palace for the perfect. This is a teaching hospital. This place is a teaching hospital. If you are perfect, you're in the wrong place. Because there's no such thing. Only one. I want you to remember that when you come in here, and I had to keep on remembering that I am not perfect. I am broken like the rest of you. And when I act like I'm not broken, I'm just in denial. And let me tell you something. I say this openly. A politician saying this openly, that he tried to kill himself? Does that make sense? That he was abused? See, I'm not a politician following Jesus. I'm a Jesus follower in politics. That's the difference. Perspective. I sat there and I yelled. I said, God, why? And this puppy that my roommate had came over. The dog hated me. I have no idea why. I would coax the dog and nothing. The dog hated me, but the dog came over. I was fetal, laid down, and licked my face for about 45 minutes. And I let him. And I thought, did you do that? Was that you? I didn't know what to do. There are 3 ways we lose sight of our purpose and our path. I'm going to give you those 3 ways. So go ahead, take out your notes or write on the side. And I'm going to tell you how I lost my way. See, I believe in teaching by experience. Number 1, we lose our way when we listen to the lies. See, there's a whole bunch of lies out there. You're not good enough. You'll never be good enough. You're not pretty enough. You're not strong enough. You're ugly. You're a prisoner. You're a fugitive. You're a con. You're a drug addict. You're an alcoholic. But let me tell you, you are a child of the Most High God, and that's who you are. See, we look at Genesis and Adam and Eve, and we say, oh man, the devil, I can't believe the devil tricked them. All the devil did, the most cunning of creatures in the garden, was cast doubt. Read it again. Ask them, what did God tell you? They told him. He said, are you sure about that? Are you sure you're a child of God? Well, maybe I'm not. See, they believed the lies. I want you to understand this. What's before the beginning and after the end? Before the beginning and after the end. it feels like a trick question, right? See, on this earth, people want you to think that there's only beginning and end, the end. Before the beginning, there was, and he will always be there. See, you are thinking, and we are taught to think like this, but we need to think like this. The lies will get us every single time when we listen to them. And when we think like this, we realize that it's not just the lies that people are telling us and that we're hearing, but the lies of the devil and how he uses our own mind against us. We listen to the lies. More importantly, we start to believe the lies. One of the ways that lies influence us by TV, by tech, by social media. Social media will tell you the world is going in one direction and we're the other direction, but let me tell you something. We are not citizens of the world, we are citizens of heaven. That's who we depend on. Here's number 2. We focus on the distractions. We focus on the distractions. This dude, Peter, was on a boat, hanging out in the middle of the storm. And Jesus said, come on over. Now, you and me, would you get out of a boat in the middle of a storm and swim over to Jesus? This is a storm, man. Can we just start paddling? Right? Can we get closer that way? When he stepped out of the boat and focused on Jesus, he was able to do something that no one could do, and that was walk on water because he focused on Jesus and not on the distractions of the storm. But when he did focus on the storm, he drowned. See, that's what happens in our life. When we start focusing on the storm, is when we go under the water. We all go through storms. Every single one of us will go through a storm, but when we focus on the storm and forget about Jesus, we go down. But there is hope. See, he knows you're going to go down, so he puts people around you to help you up. See, I like to say, God, I want you to work through me to get to him. I want you to work through them to get to me. Someone gave me an analogy. They said, well, Jesus ain't here on earth. I said, yes, he is. Who do you think gives you hugs? Who do you think walks to you? We are his hands and his feet. Those hugs aren't hugs of man. Those are hugs of Jesus. Amen. Hands and feet. So we focus on the distractions. Number 3, we follow the wrong people. Now, following the wrong people, to my kids, I might say, you stop following the wrong people, the wrong crowd, they're going to get you in trouble, they're doing drugs, they're doing this, so on and so forth. We generally think of that and we think of our kids, but that also means us. Let me give you an example. You're at work and you hear some gossip and you want to get in it, following the wrong people. When someone starts doing something bad, and you just kind of want to peek in to watch the train crash, we're following the wrong people. When you, in your home, decide, I ain't got to lead like Jesus, your family's going to follow the wrong people. See, let me tell you something. You are the pastor of your home. That is your primary ministry. So where you lead your sheep, they will go. We follow the wrong people. But let me tell you why you're here. Let me tell you why you are here. And I don't mean here today. I mean here on this earth. See, you're called to be the salt and the light Let's look up at the screen. You are here to be salt seasoning that brings out the God flavors of this earth. If you lose your saltiness, how will people taste godliness? Have you ever tasted something and you're like, oh my goodness, that's good. Imagine that times a billion. That's that God-flavored saltiness. That's that flavor that just poof, makes your mouth explode and you're just like, yes. See, when you forget that saltiness, salt was used as a preservative. Right? Salt was used to make it zesty, to make it flavorful. Salt was used. I'm going to give you a local example. I like homemade tortillas, right? So they would take, believe it or not, poop and some other stuff and make it into a poop patty, right? And put some salt underneath inside this clay oven. And the salt would help burn the poop and keep it lit. When the salt lost its usefulness, the fire would go out. When you lose your saltiness, your fire goes out. You are a preservative. You are the salt. How do I do that? How do I stay salty? See, it says, you've lost your usefulness and will end up in the garbage. See, and when Jesus speaks, and if he were speaking today, he would be like the salt, and you would be thirsty, wanting for more. But if you stop reading the Word, see, we got to get in the Word because that's where it's at. Some of you say, man, I just can't open the Bible. It's just not me. Turn on your radio. See, I just want you to take a baby step today. Whatever that step is, I want you to take a baby step today to get salty. That might mean listening to Air One. That might mean saying a 5-second prayer. That might mean saying internally you're going to make a decision and then later on make an outward expression. One of the ways in which we can remain salty is by reading the Word and proclaiming His truth through the words and actions. So number one, I want you to stay salty. Stay salty. That means getting in the Word. That means being here, being in life groups or small groups, making that a part of your life, speaking life to people. You are beautiful. You are amazing. You will do whatever you set your mind to because you are a child of the Most High God. You can do anything. Your circumstances don't matter because God is on your side. If you say your circumstances matter, you are mistaken. You are in denial that there's a true God who's sovereign and He can split the sea. If He can do that, He can split your life in half and make you go down the right path. Here's another way to put it. You are to be the light. You're to be the light. Bringing out the God colors in the world. God is not a secret to be kept. See, we're going public with this. As public as a city on a hill. Going public means today I want to make a decision and give my life to Christ. I don't know what that means, Pastor Jeff. I don't know what it means to give my life to Christ, to truly give my life to Christ. But today is the day that I want to do that. I want to give my life to Christ. That means going public. Pastor Jeff, I already gave my life to Christ. I've made that internal decision. Now I want to make an outward expression. I want to get baptized. I want you to see people about getting baptized. See, let me tell you what this signifies. I made an internal decision when I decided to marry my wife. I made a covenant with God when I said I want to marry my wife. A covenant. Inside, inward decision to God. I made an outward expression to people to let them know that I'm a Jesus follower. It's the same thing. Without the ring, I'm still married. With the ring, I'm declaring to the world I'm married. So if you're saying, man, I gave my life to Christ, I'm not ready to be baptized. You've already made the inward decision. It's done. Story's over. You've already done it. You've already given your life to Christ. The baptism is merely an outward expression of what you've already done. So if you're saying, I got to wait to get baptized because that'll clean me, no. He's already forgotten that. He's already given you the chance. He's already given you chance 1 million. He just wants you to make that outward expression to let people know I'm going public. I'm letting everyone know I'm a Jesus follower. So I want you, number 2, to go public and shine. I want you to shine like a city on a hill. I want people to say, I want what they got. Whatever he's got, I want that. I want to shine. Because when you shine, you light up others. That light in the shadows makes the shadows go away. I want you to this is the next piece. I want you to keep an open house. Be generous with your lives by opening up to others. You'll prompt people to open up with God, this generous Father in heaven. Let me tell you that again. By opening up to others, you will prompt people to open up with God, this generous Father in heaven. I just told you that I was abused as a child sexually at the age of 7. I'm just following what it tells me to do. I'm not saying you got to do that right now. I'm just saying I did that right now, so that way you'll feel like if you wanted to do that, you can do that. See, my job as a coach is to pave the way. My job as the coach is to say, this is how you do it. Now it's up to you to take that step and say, I got you, coach. I'm going to go do that out there. So you have to be generous. Here's number 3. I want you to be generous with your time, talent, and treasures. Your time, your talent, and your treasures. Your time. People say, well, Pastor Jeff, you're going to go into politics and, what do you think about this and what do you think about that and so on and so forth. And I always say, let me tell you something. My job is to be the example. My job is to teach the word through my actions. I can't change the world. That's God's job. My job is to take care of how I am towards the world. So I need to be generous with my time in teaching others, giving life to others. That's what my job is. I'm a fireman with a hose of life. Come on. I'm ready to give some life. I'm a fireman when it comes to my talent. I don't think I can tap or anything like that. I think I can speak in public. I can gather people, but that's my job. That's my talent. That's my passion. What's your passion? There's some classes that you guys take, 101, 201, 301, 401. If you haven't taken them, take them to start discovering who you are in Jesus Christ. Not in John Smith or Susie whatever, but in Jesus. Some might say, well, Jeff, I've already given a lot of my time and my treasures. It's my season to relax. Here's what your coach would say. Get out on that field. Relax. The game ain't over. The game ain't over. The game will be over when you're kneeling down before him and he says, well done, good and faithful servant. That's when the game is over. But until then, you're still in the game. There is no sitting out on the bench, not as a Jesus follower. There is no bench life. There's only in the game. We have to go public. That's what we're commanded to do. We have to be generous with our time, talent, and treasures. Not, man, I got to give again. He says, do not give any. He doesn't need it. He doesn't need your money at all. Give back what is his already. That's all he's saying. As a matter of discipline, as a matter of respect, as a matter of honor, not as begrudgingly. If you want to see miracles in your relationships, because they're in the mud right now, if you want to see miracles in your relationships, be the salt. Not, she better be salty. You be the salt. Amen. You want to fix something, fix yourself first. That's right. Be the salt. If you want to see changed communities, go public. And his love and his grace, with his love, his grace, and his mercy. Go public. Love people. If they're Democrats or Republicans, love them. There's nothing in the Bible that says anything about Republican, Democrat, Independent, Tea Party, anything like that. It just says love everyone, even your enemy. Because he says, how can you say you love me and you don't love your brother? Go back. Get back on the field. If you want to fight the darkness in our nation, shine. Shine bright like a diamond. If you want to see the flood of Jesus' love throughout this world, be generous with your time, your talent, and your treasures with a loving and giving heart. This is how we change the world from the inside out. Stop complaining. Stop complaining. Get out on the field and show them how to play the game. Because you are the one that can change a community. You are the one that can change a nation, because you are a child of God and he uses us to shine the light. In closing, this time of turmoil, as I like to call it, this time of turmoil is only but a fleeting moment. This time of turmoil, wherever you're at, is only but a dash. Keep focused on Jesus. Keep focused on him through the storm. As a man who's seen the devil in the eyes of people and seen evil throughout the world, I tell you, the only rock that I stood upon was the rock of Jesus Christ, and that rock got me through everything. So if you could just stand real quick, I want to bless you and then hand this back off to Pastor Josh. If you could just put your hand on someone right next to you. If you could just reach out to that person that's next to you, because you might not know them, but let me tell you something in here, you're all brothers and sisters in Christ. Father, I ask you to bless this family. I ask you to guide their pastor and their team of pastors. May you give them life. May they breathe life into this community. May people look at this church and say, what is happening there? Because I want to be a part of it. I want to be a part of that light. I don't know about that transformation, but I want to be a part of that. I need some of that in me. Father, let these people be your light. Let them be salt of the earth. Let them guide their families, their relationships, their friends, their loved ones. May you bless them. May you guide them. May you heal them. May you give them good health so they can do your work. Father, in the eye of the storm, we look to you because you are the King of the heavens and earth. You control the storm. You made the storm stand still. You split the seas. And Father, today we ask you for this blessing, a blessing of life, a blessing of hope, a blessing of goodness that we may share through this season and through the seasons to come. Father, help us to be the peacemakers. Help us to be known for our love, not our disagreements. Father, help us and guide us through our own storms. And it's in Jesus Christ's name that we pray. And the church says, Amen. Amen. God bless you.